Hey everyone, it's your boy David, and we're back with the breakdown, shot-by-shot review of the official trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth. I'm super excited for this film. There's a lot of stuff I like in this trailer. There's some stuff that I have some concerns about, but we'll get into it. But I'm really liking what I see so far, and we're going to break it down shot-by-shot, get some Easter eggs for you guys, so let's get into it. First up, we get that scene in the museum there, when dinosaurs ruled the earth, which of course is the ribbon, or the banner, sorry, that was used in the original Jurassic Park. As you can see, it's falling for a different reason now, because they're tearing down the exhibit. Ironically enough, as I saw this in the trailer, didn't love it. Didn't love this scene, but we get some great shots coming up here of... We got right here, we got Scarlett Johansson looking great as always. We got Rupert Friend and Jonathan Bailey. And I love that interaction there that they have. And also Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey. This shot right here. I love this shot of the tail over Jonathan Bailey's head. That just looks so cool. And the way it just kind of like swoops away. Love it.
It comes from the largest,
and they're both looking up in awe, which is pretty, like, I would be looking like this too if I saw a giant tail and then what they're about to see, which it belongs to an even bigger dinosaur. This shot right here of the two titanosaurs, this is awesome. This was one of my favorite shots in the trailer. I was like, this looks epic. And not just epic in terms of like, this is just a really cool thing to look at. Something that Gareth Edwards is really great at is scale. And we know that from the Godzilla films. And we can see that here in this trailer. Not only do we see these giant, majestic dinosaurs, we see these giant mountains and valleys in the background behind them. This is going to be a gorgeous film cinematically. And there's a couple more shots in here that I think really capture the scale of this film. And I think they're really cool.
All these species exist.
This shot right here of I believe it's a Quetzalcoatlus. It might be a Pteranodon, but I think it's a Quetzalcoatlus here in the mist in the mountains. That's so cool. This is so Jurassic Park 3 to me, especially since that's also how the flying dinosaurs were introduced in Jurassic Park 3, within the mist and, you know, the mountains of Isla Sorna. And I just think this is just such a great shot. It almost looks like a plane almost flying through, because it's just that big. And I love this shot. I think it's great.
Can you be ready tomorrow?
We got a fun little interaction here between our trio here. More or less. I love how he says that. And right here, we got this great new Universal logo. And it's kind of all Jurassified. They've never done this for any Jurassic trailer before this film. They've done kind of, you know, the font on like the posters and everything, but they've never done it to the Universal logo, which I think is really, really fun. And we get a shot of them flying into, I believe, this new, probably a nearby island in the island chain. Got this scene at the bar here. Great shot of the boat that they used to come in. Great shot there, Mahershala Ali. This right here, I love this. Because at first, you think this is almost like a river they're looking at. No, it's like a pipeline or like some kind of, you know, tunnel system in the island. I just think that's really, really cool. I love old buildings, which we're going to see in the next shot here very, very quickly. But I just love world building in these films. I think Jurassic has a very good, you know, sense of world building, especially in the original trilogy, not so much in the world films. But I miss old, you know, run-down island facilities. And we finally get that in this film, especially with the shot coming up here. This right here, one of my favorite shots in the trailer is this right here, this fence. And if you notice, it's the exact same danger 10,000 volts sign that's used in the original Jurassic Park, which to me is a little, you know, set of detail that they, you know, made sure to include, which I really appreciate as a fan. I think that's really, really cool that they did that. But I want to know, like, what these facilities were. Yes, we know it's apparently the original research facility for the island, but there's a lot of stuff going on here. It makes me wonder, like, what was like day-to-day life on this island before obviously it was run over by dinosaurs. But I love this shot. I think it's very Jurassic, and I love it. I just think it's great. Love their little interaction there. No one's stupid enough to go where we're going. Great shot of the island. This right here, we finally get the lab. So we know that it's the research lab. And I just think this looks great. I love the color scheme. I like that it's run down. I have some theories about this lab because as you see in the shot coming up, it looks a little almost too high tech to be, you know, what originally would have been, you know, 80s, 90s tech. I have a theory that, you know, this may have been the original island, but maybe the labs that we're seeing were not the original labs, so to speak, kind of thing, right? I think, you know, someone may have kind of taken over shop and set up shop here while trying to do some stuff in secret, but we'll see. We'll see. But we do know this is an InGen lab because this shot, great shot here of Mahershala Ali, right behind him, you can see InGen Laboratories. And I just love finally seeing InGen again. We know it's confirmed that this is, you know, InGen. Whether or not, you know, InGen maybe is going back to the island. We're going to get into some recent developments in terms of some plot reveals and everything that have come from some merchandising stuff, surprisingly. But now we know it's InGen. InGen is officially back in this film, which I love. Great shot there. Originally, I didn't notice this. This raptor has 2 heads. And I just think that's so dope. So, like, we're learning that, you know, the mutant seen later in the trailer isn't the first mutant. They're trying to, you can tell this is very much like a trial and error lab. They're just trying to, you know, throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks kind of thing, right? And I originally thought it was like an arm or something, but no, that raptor has 2 heads. And as you can see, it's kind of reminiscent of like the tiger stripe variants from the Lost World. And it's kind of great because you can kind of see like, oh, like this is kind of the initial evolution of the stuff that we see in the parks, which is explained in the trailer. We know that, you know, the dinosaurs left here were kind of the errors, you know, the island of misfit dinosaurs kind of thing, right? And I just think this looks great. And it's also reminiscent of that scene, again, in Jurassic Park 3 with the raptor kind of pretending to hide in the incubation tanks, which I just think is really dope. Maybe we'll get that here. Maybe we'll get, you know, a pretend raptor, you know, being like, oh, it's still in a tube. Nope, just kidding. It's alive. We do know raptors are in this film, as we see later in the trailer. But I just thought this shot was really dope.
Jurassic Park.
Great shot, Jonathan Bailey there. Okay, so that gun that Scarlett Johansson has, if you notice very quickly here, it says Parkergenics on it. And so I believe that this new company that has hired Scarlett Johansson and her team is Parkergenics. I believe that's, you know, Rupert Friend's characters. Obviously, he's the leader of that company. And we know that from some merch reveals that, ironically enough, were in Universal Studios Hollywood and Universal Studios Orlando. And I just think that's really dope. So now we know it's not InGen sending them, but I have a feeling that maybe, you know, Parkergenics might be maybe a front for InGen, or, you know, took over InGen's labs that were originally here. So I have some theories about that. Obviously, they're here for a reason.
Biggest dinosaurs.
That's a great shot of Scarlett Johansson looking up at the mountains there, seeing the Quetzalcoatluses fly around. Again, a really great depiction of scale in this film. Great shot. Scarlett Johansson looks great. It's just like you could frame a couple shots in this trailer of like, you could put this up and frame it in your house because it just looks that beautiful. This shot being one of them. I think it's great.
Do we have to get a sample from an egg?
Great shots again of Scarlett Johansson scaling down the mountain there.
Flying carnivore the size of an F-16.
I love their interaction there. So now we know we got this really cool ancient ruin that they're in, trying to get some dino DNA from the eggs. Huge Quetzalcoatlus attack, which is really, really dope. This summer. Great shot of the island. We get scale. Originally, the island didn't look that big to me, but then here's a nicer shot. I'm kind of like, okay, maybe it's a little bit narrow, but it looks like it goes on forever kind of thing, right? So I was like, how big is this island that, you know, the dinosaurs haven't all eaten each other by the time, you know, this movie takes place, which would nearly be almost 50 years later kind of thing, which is crazy to think, right? But yeah, great shot of the island.
These dinosaurs.
Great shot right there, Mahershala Ali being lit by the flare. I thought that was so dope. I love a flare shot. We know Gareth Edwards loves a flare shot, especially from the original Godzilla. You'll see a couple shots coming up here that are reminiscent of that film, where, you know, the paratroopers come down in the original Godzilla film from 2014, and he's kind of lit up by their flares, and we kind of see the mutant lit up by Duncan Kincaid's flare here, which I think is really dope. I see you, Gareth Edwards. I see you.
Too dangerous.
Great shot of Scarlett Johansson. Again, lit up by a flare. Some really great flare shots in this film.
Please don't say they're raptors.
Here we go. Now we know we got raptors. And I always thought it was funny how Jonathan Bailey says raptors here. He almost says reptors, like R-E-P, reptors. But we know them from their iconic sickle-clawed middle toe. And we haven't gotten a full reveal yet of them in a trailer. But we've had some merchandising stuff get released, and they look really cool. They're very reminiscent of the Jurassic Park 3 Raptors, which is something that was rumored again for this film. Which again, in canon, it makes sense because it's like, okay, these are like the kind of, first kind of prototype dinosaurs that would lead to what you would see in the later films kind of thing, right? Which I think is really dope.
Have raptors.
Yeah, they have raptors. This is a sick shot right here of that foot coming down from the mutant. Again, huge. Again, scale, ginormous. This is almost like a kaiju coming after them. And I could be wrong. It might be a trick of the eye kind of thing. But I have a theory that, which a few other people do too, that I think this mutant grows as it ages. Because you see later on in the trailer, it almost looks smaller in the lab. But again, could be a trick of the eye. Again, we don't fully see it. We don't know how big that room is that it's in the beginning. But we'll have to see. But this dinosaur basically looks like a Godzilla coming after them, which honestly I'm all for. I think the mutant storyline has to be executed in such a specific way for it to work, and I hope they're able to do it. I hope they're really able for it to not just come across as this, like hybrid thing. But I think a mutant storyline I'm very much open to, because that almost is the more realistic version of a hybrid, because these are trial and error dinosaurs, right? It's the island of misfit dinos, and this obviously is a misfit dino because it is ginormous, and it almost looks like it walks on its knuckles like an ape kind of thing, which I think is interesting. But I just think it looks cool, at least from what we've seen. We haven't had a full reveal, but I think it looks dope.
We're left here.
Here we go. We got some other shots of the characters here. I believe that's the family, the Delgado family. There's that famous shot of Mahershala Ali here, lit up by the flare, trying to warn everybody. Again, you can see behind him there in the corner on the left there, another InGen logo. Again, confirming this is an InGen facility. And we got this great shot here of him. Oh, he's in the... You know what? I gotta say, this shot looks amazing. The mutant getting lit up, silhouetted by the flare. I don't think Mahershala Ali makes it out of the scene. The way that Scarlett Johansson screams after this shot, I don't think he's coming out of this movie. Unfortunately, I love Mahershala Ali. I think he's great. But something that the Vanity Fair article hinted at was that this trio is very much like the trio from Jaws. And we know only 2 characters out of that trio make it out of that film. And I have a feeling only 2 characters out of this trio are going to make it out of this film. And those are probably Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey. But I just think this shot looks sick. Again, we still don't see the mutant fully. I'm not sold on the face design just yet. Again, we haven't fully seen it like in daylight. I'm curious if we ever will. I hope we do. But again, I'm kind of glad that we haven't fully seen the mutants. I hope that's something that they save for the film itself. Just because, again, I don't love the kind of almost like beluga whale head going on here. I get that they were very much going for, Gareth Edwards said that this was a mix of a Rancor, a Xenomorph from Aliens, and a T-Rex. And you can very much see the Rancor and Xenomorph influences in the head, the mouth, and almost those big arms like a Rancor has, come to think of it. And so again, I'm cautiously optimistic for the mutant stuff. I think the idea is very good. It's just going to be very dependent on what the mutant looks like in the film. There's that great shot of her screaming there. A new era. Love that shot of the Jeep blasting through the gate there is born. This right here. So this is something that I don't know if a lot of people picked up on. I'm sure someone did, because I remember seeing this somewhere online, which I thought was dope. Again, so there's a lot going on in this shot. As you can see, we have the return of the Dilophosaurus. It is the variant from Jurassic World Dominion. You can tell by the color of the fans on its head. And you can see here, we got one of the members of the Delgado family. And behind her is, I believe, what's supposed to be like a boat launch. Because as you can see to her left, there's a dock. I'm very curious so we are going to get like a raft of some sort. I remember it was alleged it was probably going to be like kayaks or something. And I'm like, what are they going to escape a dinosaur on a kayak? It'll just flip them and eat them kind of thing, right? So I'm assuming they're going to do a full raft. If they're going to do the river raft sequence, you got to have a raft. That looks like a very, overgrown, rundown boat launch. I'm assuming that yellow thing is one of the rafts, or at least one of them that they're going to use. But what I think is really cool is if you look really closely behind the girl there, you can see a very, very, very briefly. It's really hard to spot, but if you look hard enough, you can actually see the T-Rex sleeping behind her, which I think is just so cool. And again, it's not something, unless you go down and shot by shot, frame by frame, look in the trailer, you're not going to see it, which I think is so cool. And we know he's behind her because right the shot right after, we know, as I said, it almost looks like he woke up. And, he's like, oh, you woke me up. Now I got to chase you down the river kind of thing. Right. But again, so this shot here coming up right here, we got the mutant in the lab. And I'm assuming that this is a flashback sequence. My theory is that this will be the opening, scene of the film. Jurassic is very known for its, opening incidents kind of thing, inciting incidents. And I think that's going to be the one for this film. And, as you can see, the lab is very, kind of modern for Jurassic. So I have a theory that Parker Jennings, kind of went, they took over this island. They're like, hey, we have these kind of facilities that we can kind of take over. Let's take over one of the labs. Let's start making dinosaurs of our own kind of thing, right? And obviously, maybe, they don't know how to make dinosaurs, and they create this mutant that we can see here, this very kaiju alien-looking creature. And obviously that guy in the room there, he's not making it to the sequel. So looks like he got locked in there, poor guy. He's going to be, literally a red shirt. He's in a red, hazmat suit, or orange. It just kind of looks like from the lighting. But I have a theory that this is Parker Jennings on this island. They, screw up with the making of this dinosaur, and they kind of lie to Scarlett Johansson and her team, being like, hey, let's go create a cure for humanity. And obviously they need this asset or some sort of information from one of these labs, to kind of maybe cover up their tracks or, start again kind of thing. So that's what I think is really going on in this movie, because obviously they got to get them on this island. They're going to pull a switcheroo on them and somehow, which I'm very curious to see if they don't. If they don't, I'm curious how the storyline is going to play out, but that's just my personal theory of what's really going on for the plot of this story. Again, we got the T-Rex chomping after a guy in the river. We know river raft sequence is coming. This is great. I love this shot in the Vanity Fair reveal of the boat surrounded by the 3 Spinosaurs and the Mosasaur. I thought this shot looked epic. One of my personal favorites in the trailer. Again, scale. It's got all the great parts of this movie. You got scale, dinosaurs, cool vehicles, and, just a really great adventure vibe to it, which I think is really, really cool.
What the hell are those?
I love that shot there. The two kind of, snapping at each other. That's a great shot there of Jonathan Bailey with Rupert Friend in the background there, and the spino fin kind of going by them. And you can see the Mosasaur behind them there further back. That's a great shot. I thought this was really cool. It almost reminded me of Uncharted in a little bit. Somehow like they have some scenes in boats in the games, and this reminded me very much of that, but with a Jurassic twist, which I think is really cool. Great shot there, Scarlett Johansson. She always looks great. She's amazing. And there we go. We got that iconic shot of the Spinosaurus coming up here on Philippine Velge, I believe is her name. I'm sorry if I'm butchering her last name, but I know Philippine is her first name. Great shot here of the Spinosaurus. I don't love a shot coming up later. I think you got to get the angles right for the Spinosaurus. It only looks good from a couple of angles just because of the design they chose to go for. They went with a more paleo-accurate design, which I personally think is just ugly. Again, they're Jurassic dinosaurs. They don't have to be scientifically accurate, but I guess, they wanted to add some stuff to it, which I personally am not a fan of, but we'll have to see how they look in the full film. This girl kind of falls down there. As you can see, there's that shot there. Spinosaurus being like, oh, being like, spin the thing, you won a prize, and the little human comes out, kind of thing, right? Again, I don't love the face. I think it only looks good for a couple of angles for the Spinosaurus, but again, we'll have to see them more in action in the film. Great shot there, Scarlett Johansson again with that Parker Jennings gun, and I just think she looks badass in this scene. Again, with the Jaws vibes, the Jaws influence is very evident here, especially with her at the front of the boat with that gun. It's very, Quint from Jaws, and I think that's awesome. That's a sick shot right here of the Mosasaur breaching and kind of pushing the boat. And now we know that's kind of what launches Philippine Velge off the roof there, because you can see her behind at the very top. So these things are coming from all sides. You know, the Mosasaurus is coming from one side, the Spino's trying to get them at the other side. There's a lot going on here. And so I can't wait for this sequence in the film. A lot of people say that this is going to be the end of the film. I actually think this is going to be the beginning. I think they're going to get stranded on the island, and that's going to be from this boat attack, and the boat's going to get destroyed, obviously, right? So, but I just think this looks dope. I think it looks very cool. That's a great shot there. The Mosasaurus head coming up. That's just cool. I've always loved water dinos. I don't think they get enough love. So I love that we're getting another mosasaur featured in a big sequence in the Jurassic films. We haven't really had one since Fallen Kingdom. So 2 films later, we're finally getting another one. Hopefully it shows up more than, you know, in this potentially new trilogy as well. But then we'll keep going here. And we got that brand new logo. I love this logo. I love the color scheme for this. Jurassic World Rebirth. I love anything blue. So blue is like a favorite color of mine. So I love that we got this kind of like bluish gunmetal turquoise, you know, colors pattern going on with the golds and everything. It's just a really nice fresh look for Jurassic. Primarily, they usually do a lot of like darker tones in terms of like red, yellow for the original trilogy, more brighter, but still kind of dark. And then for Jurassic World, they went very dark with a lot of like, you know, silver and blue, and then just a lot of like rocky look and dark grays and blacks for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And then with Dominion, they went with the amber logo, which I didn't love. But this, I think, is a really great kind of return to form, a rebirth, if you will, for the Jurassic World logo. And I just think it looks great. And I hope this is a great rebirth for the franchise as well. I'm curious what you guys think. What did you guys think of the trailer? Did you guys catch any other Easter eggs? What do you think of the film? How do you think it looks? Are you guys excited for it? Are you going to be going to see it on July 2nd of this summer? I'm super excited. I know I'll be there. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't yet, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and click that bell notification to be notified every time I drop a video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.